Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode 131 of Be With Me. And I'm going to title today, One Half the Spiritual Battle plus the Other Half. So this is Paul. He's gathered the Ephesian elders in a city nearby Ephesus, and he's cruising through, and it's the last time he's going to see them, and it's a very emotional time. They're all crying, and he's giving these last words of a charge. He says, I'll never see you again. I haven't shrunk, and I'm innocent of the blood of all of you. In other words, I've done my job. And then he says this about their personal lives, and then he says this about the church. He says, and here's the reason I want to talk about this, is that there is an application. So he's speaking mostly to elders and those that actually have some responsibility for the church. But there's so much in here that's for the civilian, if you will. So here it is. This is Acts 20, 28. Pay careful attention to yourselves and to all the flock. So those are the two halves that we're talking about. Pay attention to yourselves, that's one half, and to all the flock, that's the other half, in which the Holy Spirit has made you overseers, to care for the church of God, which he obtained with his own blood. I know that after my departure, fierce wolves will come in among you, not sparing the flock. And from among your own selves will arise men, speaking twisted things, to draw away the disciples after them. Therefore be alert, remembering that for 3 years I did not cease day or night to admonish everyone with tears. And I commend you to God and to the word of his grace, which is able to build you up and to give you the inheritance among all those who are sanctified. So let's look at the two sides of this. One is to pay attention to yourselves. The second is to pay attention to the flock. And then Paul, in a sneaky way, says they're kind of one and the same. He says, first of all, pay attention to yourself. So we know that this is where, the spiritual battle is, or all of the spiritual battle is. For many of us that are not elders or pastors or priests, this is the spiritual battle. This is all we get is sort of the battle with ourselves. Now, what does it mean to be an overseers for that particular job in the church? That is a person that's a guardian, and for a person that's committed to them hitting the mark, to leading. And for this particular group of people, the Holy Spirit has charged them both with watching out for themselves as well as watching out for the flock. That is, the Holy Spirit has put you in a position of authority. Now remember, authority is God's idea. It's God's plan. He invented authority, and our job is to, be careful with it and to use it humbly and in a servant sort of a way that Jesus has redefined it. And we need to face that with spiritual fear, godly fear, a holy way. And he says to the Ephesian elders that your job is to care for the church of God. It's not your church, it's the church of God. It's his church. And then how did he get it? Well, it's obtained with his blood. There's a Trinity here, that the Holy Spirit is delegating authority. It's God's church, the Father, if you will, and it's obtained with Jesus's blood. So the Trinity is very intimate there. And he says, be alert. So what particular things does he give to the individual as he's facing the battle within his heart and the battle within his ears over, what greed, avarice, all the temptations that we face. And he says, therefore, be alert. So kind of be ready. And he says, remember me. Remember what I taught you. I was with you for 3 years. So we know that Paul was in Ephesus solid for 2 years, and then he visits again. So just all sum total, I think, is what he's doing here. He's saying, I was with you for 3 years. So don't forget me, and remember what I did with you. I admonished you with tears for 3 years. And that's kind of the negative side is, admonishment is, be careful, don't do this, steer away from that. That's the bad side. The good side is I point you to God. I commend you to God. And this relationship, which should be our source, our ultimate source of joy, source of satisfaction, source of intimacy. It's the be with me part of this. And how do you stay close? Well, he wants to build them up with the word. So the word is able to kind of meet this need, and it's able to get you all the way to the end, to give you an inheritance. So stick with the people of God, stick with his word, go with the people all the way to the end, finish well. And then if you take care of yourself, likely you'll be among the sanctified. So one of the things he does here is he says, be careful with the flock of God. Why is that? Because it's risky. There are wolves out there that don't care about the flock. They pretend to care. They destroy the people. And at least in this case, they want power. In other places in the Bible, they want gain. They want money. And here's the thing about the wolves that you need to watch out for is I'm going to make this number up, but 85% of what they're going to say is going to be true, but they're going to twist 15%. So it requires, great discernment. And the scary thing is it kind of like comes from within. The risk isn't, the big bad external country that's attacking you. It's more of, spies among us kind of thing. So how do you care for the church of God? Well, be ready, face those risks, and then especially watch yourself, be genuine, build up yourself by the word, and sustain to the end. And if you make it to the end, using the word and using his fellowship, likely you're going to look around and you're going to have the inheritance among those who are sanctified. So I think one of the teaching points here is, and encouragements is that if you finish well and do your job well, you're going to take some of the people of God with you. So let's be careful out there. I think one half of the spiritual battle is ourselves, and maybe the other half is the responsibilities that the Lord has given us. Thank you for listening, and I bless you as you face those spiritual battles today.